Hey guys, it's Tabitha at Full Circle Farmstead. I just wanted to pop in here quickly and share one of our favorite sandwich bread recipes with you. I've had a lot of friends either Facebook me, text me, call me, saying, help, there's no bread in the stores. I need to make bread fast and I need an easy recipe. Now, if you guys have a KitchenAid stand mixer or some sort of stand mixer, this is super easy. If you don't, it's still easy. Don't worry, you just need a little elbow grease. But it just takes a little bit longer. It's not hard at all. So I wanted to adapt our regular sandwich bread. I always use sourdough, so I adapted it to using instant yeast so that everyone can do it from home no matter where you are. I will show you how to make your own sourdough starter in a future video, so stay tuned for that. If you want to subscribe to our channel, we're going to be bringing you a lot more content about being self-sufficient and sustainable, and no time better than to start thinking about that in the middle of a pandemic. So, without further ado, we're going to get started here. The first thing we need to do is grab a pot, okay? And you're going to add a half cup of milk. And forgive me because I am not a professional food photographer or video person here. You're going to add about a tablespoon of honey. We're going to ditch the sugar and just do honey. Sugar actually reduces your immune system for up to 4 hours after you consume it, so we try to stick with natural sweeteners, and I get a big gallon of honey every so often from a friend right over the road from us, so if you can find local honey, that's awesome.
Go.
Okay, so the next thing you want to add is 3 tablespoons of butter, okay, and we're going to warm this over the stove just long enough for your butter to melt and your honey to melt. So while we do this, you're going to just kind of mix it around. Again, you don't want it to be boiling hot because we don't want it too hot for our yeast. We don't want to kill our yeast. Just hot enough that, like I said, the butter is melted and so is the honey. And it's all mixed around together. Just takes another minute or two here. Okay, now that we have everything melted, the biggest test with yeast is you want to just dump it in your bowl here. And if you're new to yeast and if you're new to bread baking, the only thing you can do is kill your yeast and you might have to start over. So what I do is a quick finger check. It's not, you want it to feel the warmth, so you want it to be about 100 degrees or so, but you don't want it to be too hot. So right now it's perfect. I'm going to sprinkle in my yeast and give it a quick stir. And then once we get this kind of gently combined here, we're going to let the yeast sit and do its job. We're going to let it get nice and fluffy for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to just let this go here for 5 minutes and then we'll be back. Okay, so now we're back and I'm going to show you here what the frothy yeast looks like. So this is what you want yours to look like. If you don't see these little frothy beings here, then you probably killed it. So start over. All right, so now that we have our yeast activated, we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. Now, if you're using a stand mixer, all of this just goes in your mixer bowl, and instead of kneading with your hands as we're going to do, you'll just turn it on, use your dough hook attachment and turn it on and let it go for about 5 minutes. Now, we're going to get started here. Sorry about the big bag. This is what my favorite kind of flour, the King Arthur. Feel free to use whatever kind of flour you want. Just make sure it's not bleached, please. King Arthur, I like it because they're employee owned and they're non-GMO verified. They also do have an organic brand. I'm not paid to tell you this. I just really like this brand. So anyway, 3 cups of flour. I'm going to put that in here. And then we're going to add about 2/3 cup of yogurt. I use whole fat, organic, plain yogurt. If you don't have that on hand, feel free to just use more milk or some water. And I would start with a half cup of warm water or warm milk. And then go up to 2/3 as you see if your dough is too dry or too wet. You don't want it to be too wet. I like the flavor and the moisture content that yogurt adds to the dough. So we use that. And then you're going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And try to use sea salt if possible. You don't want to use the iodized salt from the store because that will do nothing for your health except make it worse. So, all right, then you're going to just give it all a nice mix. And we're going to mix until it becomes shaggy and too hard to mix. And then we'll turn it out and we'll go ahead and knead it. So let me get it mixed up here. And again, if you're using a stand mixer, this is easy peasy for you. You just pop it in there, turn it on, and it does all the work for you. If you don't, and you're doing it this way, you get some arm workouts, so it's not a totally bad thing. All right, so see how it's nice and shaggy now? It's kind of getting really hard to mix. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it out on my surface here. And we'll go ahead and mix the rest of it by hand. Get all the extra flour in because you do want to knead that in. You want to incorporate it all here. All right, now the fun part. We're going to just slowly, you're going to fold it over on top of itself and push down with both of the palms of your hand. And this is basically how it kneads. Forgive my shaky table here. Like I said, I'm just making do in my kitchen. We are not a professional TV place. I almost feel silly doing this, but it's fun and it's okay. And I want to help you guys get confident in bread making. And I will show you in another video, like I said earlier, I will show you how to make a sourdough starter, but I'll also come back and show you how to adapt this to sourdough. Sourdough, I prefer it, and it's definitely a more nutritious way to consume bread. For those of you who may have a gluten intolerance, it is more digestible because the sourdough breaks down the gluten as it sits. It also is full of lactobacilli and all those the good bacteria that we want to colonize our guts. So in that way, sourdough is best. I have this actual sandwich dough recipe. It pretty much takes all day from start to finish. The active time is very minimal though for sourdough, which is why I prefer it, because it does have such a long rise time that I can do about 5 to 10 minutes of active work on my bread, and then I can let it sit while I school the kids, chase Hazel, plant whatever we're doing, or just have fun and leave the house too. Or I can come back to it midday, do another step, let it sit some more, and then finally, around dinner time or a little after, I might be able to go ahead and bake it so that we have bread for the next day. Some of my bread is actually a 3-day sourdough process, and the longer that it sits, the healthier that it will be. And that turns out some beautiful artisan loaves. Some of you have seen my round, crusty loaves on Facebook. That's a 3-day sourdough process. And again, very little active work, maybe a couple hours one afternoon. And then the rest of the time it spends sitting in the refrigerator, just letting the sourdough do its work and reduce the gluten and get to town. So it's very easy. All right, so after a couple minutes of kneading, you're going to have a nice, smooth, round ball of dough. Okay, so you want it to be able to not stick and not be mushy. It's not a loose dough, it's not a runny dough, so it should be a nice smooth ball like that. You're going to want to grab some oil. Grab the oil here. Okay, grab some olive oil. Now some people, if they're professionals, they'll probably tell you to wash out your bowl. I don't like to wash out my bowl because that's extra work. So just kind of oil your bowl. And if you're using your stand mixer, just use the bowl of your stand mixer. Kind of just coat your ball of dough in oil. Okay, so you're going to leave it, once it's oiled, you're going to cover it up with some plastic, maybe a damp kitchen towel, and you're going to let it sit until it's doubled in size, about 2 hours. If your kitchen's a little warmer, it might take less time. Just keep an eye on it, but you want it to be nice and puffy and doubled. Okay guys, so here I am back with a different loaf that I had started earlier. I wanted to show you, this is now doubled in size. And it's brown because I used like a white whole wheat flour. So this is what maybe a whole wheat loaf would look like if you chose to use half whole wheat. So now we're going to turn it out of our bowl, and you'll see it's nice and fluffy. And I'm just going to slowly kind of deflate it, just gently deflate it. And what we're going to do then is very simple. We're just going to kind of fold it up on itself like this, like an envelope, and then we're going to let it sit. Okay, we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes. I'm going to get a little cloth here, kitchen towel, sorry, and we're going to cover it up so that it can just kind of rest, and we'll let the gluten rest until we are ready to go to the next step.
Action.
Hey guys, okay, so I'm back now. We let this rest for about 10 minutes, so we're going to flip it over, and basically you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to fold it in thirds, kind of roll it on itself like that, so it's a nice little tight loaf there. Then you're going to take your greased loaf pan, so you want to take butter and grease your loaf pan. It's about a 9 by 5 inch, so it's going to be the big loaf size. You're going to stick it in there, seam side down, and just kind of press it in. Can't do any damage to it. So there you go. And now you're going to cover this, and you're going to wait until it's domed up about an inch over the edges here. And then it's going to bake for about 30 minutes at 400. So when you start to see it rounding the top of your pan, go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 and then bake it for 30 minutes. You want it to come out nice, and if you tap on it, it will be hollow. And before you pop it in the oven, if you want to, this is just something I like to do, I like to brush the top of it with a little bit of milk. It just adds a nice sheen to your loaf, but it's totally optional. So like I said, 400, 30 minutes, and if you need to adjust that time for your oven, go for it. But like I said, you want it to sound hollow when it comes out. Pop it out of your pan when it's done, and you're going to let it cool, and then you're going to enjoy it. So I am going to, if you look down at the bottom in the comments, I have the recipe written out for you so you can copy it from there. But I told you, easy recipe for bread, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. So come back soon. I will be back with a sourdough starter recipe and lots more videos to come. Have a good day, guys.